Part 14, Preparation for NSE4 exam. FSSO Fortinet Single Sign-On Configuration Agentless Polling Mode. FortiGate uses LDAP to query Active Directory. You go to Security Fabric, External Connectors, Endpoint Identity. FSSO agent on Windows Active Directory. Semantic Endpoint Protection. Poll AD Server. Radius Single Sign-On Agent. To poll Active Directory server, we enter server IP and name, LDAP server, and enable polling. FSSO configuration. Collector agent-based polling or Active Directory agent mode. The FSSO agent can monitor users' login information from Active Directory, Exchange, Terminal, Citrix, and eDiscovery servers. Security Fabric, then external connectors. We put endpoint or identity, new external connector, user group source. User group source could be collector agent, CA, or local proactively retrieved from LDAP server. Set collector agent to advanced mode. Otherwise, the collector agent doesn't recognize and pass down any user logins. Fortinet Single Sign-On Agent Installation. First, we visit a Fortinet support website. It's support.fortinet.com. We click Download and search for firmware images and available agents. DC agent, for example, DC agent setup. CA for Microsoft servers. CA is collector agent for Microsoft servers. FSSO setup collector agent. CA for Novell. FSSO setup eDirectory. For TS agent setup. It's for terminal server. Select FortiGate, then click Download. Grab the major collector agent for the major release. Match DC agent version to the collector agent version. FSSO collector agent installation process. First, run the installation process as administrator. Second, enter the username format, domain name, /username. 3. Configure the collector agent for monitoring logins, for NTLM authentication, and for directory access. NTLM authentication is Windows Challenge Response NTLM, the protocol which is used in networks that include systems running Windows OS systems. And step 4, optionally, you can launch DC agent installation wizard before exiting collector agent installation wizard. DC agent installation. IP and port for CA for collector agent. You can customize after that port, but default port is UDP port 8002. Domains to monitor. Remove users that you don't want to monitor. Step 4. Select DCs, domain controllers. To install the DC agent, at least one domain controller should have DC agent. DC agent mode used to install DC agent on selected domain controller. And polling mode, DC agent will not be installed. Step 6 is system reboot. Fortinet single sign-on collector agent configuration. First, monitoring and user logging events. Second, listening port for FortiGate. Default port is TCP port 8000. Listening port for DC agent is port UDP 8002. Step 4. Enable or disable NTLM authentication, which is used on Windows OS systems. Logging, log level warning, log file size limit, for example 10 megabytes, it's a default. Step 6. Enable authentication between collector agent and FortiGate. It requires authenticated connection from FortiGate. Step 7. Timers. Group filters. The Fortinet single sign-on CA manages FortiGate group filters. FortiGate group filters control which user's login information is sent to that FortiGate device. Filters are tied to FortiGate serial numbers. All FortiGate devices support at least 256 Windows Active Directory user groups. The group filter supports is for VDOMs, virtual domains. If Fortinet single sign-on is set up in user group source local mode, group filtering is configured on FortiGate and pushed to collector agent. FortiGate will take precedence over filters sent on collector agent. The default filter applies to any FortiGate device that doesn't have a specific filter defined in the list. You can set up filters, groups, OUs, organizational units, users, or any combinations. If you change Active Directory access mode from standard to advanced, you need to recreate the filters. IUL, ignored user list. The collector agent ignores any login events that match ignore user list entries. For example, network service accounts. User logins are not reported to FortiGate, and this helps to ensure that user get correct policies and profiles on FortiGate. To add users to ignored user list, we can use several ways. First way is manual entry. We put add users, select users you do not want to monitor. And another way, we can add users by OU, by organizational unit. We select organizational unit from the directory tree, and all users on the selected organizational units are added to that ignore user list. Collector agent timers, which is step 7 timers. Workstation verify interval. Workstation verify interval verifies if a user is still logged on. It uses remote registry service to verify. Default is set to 5 minutes. You can disable it and set value to 0. IP address change verify interval. Important on DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, or dynamic environments. And the default for IP address change verify control is 60 seconds. Dead entry timeout interval. Dead entry timeout interval applies to unverified entries only. It is used to purge login information. Default is 480 minutes, which is 8 hours. Under the workstation verify interval, and you can disable it if you want to disable it to set the value to 0. Cache user group lookup result. Collector agent remembers user group membership. Active Directory access mode configuration. You need to set directory access information. Standard access mode. First, Windows convention. Domain / groups. UTM profiles to groups nested groups are not available. Group filters are at CA, controlling agents. Advanced access mode. LDAP, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, convention usernames, which is CN for user, OU name, DC, domain controller, domain. UTM profiles to users, groups, and organizational units. It supports nested and inherited groups. Group filtering for advanced access mode is FortiGate as an LDAP client or group filter on CA. Filter groups defined on FortiGate. You can create from collector agent. Preferable way is create from collector agent. Active Directory group support. Group type supported. First, security groups. Second, universal groups. Third, groups inside organizational units. Fourth, local or universal groups that contain universal groups from child domains, only with global catalog. If a user is not part of an FSSO group, for FSSO authentication, user is a part of SSO _ guest _ users group. For passive and active Fortinet single sign-on authentication, user is prompted to log in. User and authentication, then go to user groups. It's in graphical user interface. This way you configure group support in Active Directory. Advanced settings. For Citrix or Terminal Server TS. Terminal Server Agent Mode. It monitors user logins in real time. It requires a collector agent and no polling support from FortiGate. Advanced setting Radius Accounting. It can notify the firewall upon login and logout events. Syslog servers. It can notify the firewall upon login and logout events. Exchange server. It monitors MS Exchange server and allows user access to emails through the domain account. It's accessing from domain, or is it not accessing from the domain?